Hello, my friends. Thanks once again for joining us here on this Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time for another edition of Spiritism, a closer look. You are watching us on Kardec Radio, and I'm Luiz Lima, broadcasting today from Orlando, Florida. Tonight, we are going to take a closer look at the power of faith. It's a very interesting subject. It's actually part of the chapter 19 in the Gospel according to Spiritism. So, our starting point, I would say, is going to be the fact that it is very difficult to define a straight definition of faith because not everyone shares or expresses the same idea around the concept of faith. So it's different belief systems, different cultural levels. There's a lot of things that make it difficult to define in a way that everybody accepts the same thing. So, in view of this, we could say that there are three major avenues to understand faith. Three major avenues. So that's what we're going to uh, start with today. And the three avenues are, we're going to call them the human faith, second, the divine faith, and third, the rational faith, as opposed to a blind faith. So let's, discuss each one of them individually, and then we'll put it all together under the Spiritist light. So let's talk a little bit about what human faith is. Human faith, the name says human, right? Us, man, humankind. Human faith is geared towards personal interests in the material life. For example, I want to win the lotto this weekend. So, within my possibilities, within my cultural level, within my, as a spirit, who I am, I'm going to concentrate on winning the lotto this weekend, which is a straight material, life related action. So, this is a faith of convenience. There is no spirituality whatsoever in that kind of faith. It's very pragmatic and very, like I said, materialistic. There is no participation whatsoever of God or even a divine figure of any kind. So, people who believe and carry on human faith, as we explained right now, these are people who deem to be their own life guide. They don't need anybody else. They don't need anything above or superior. It's they are themselves enough to make it happen. And the problem is when it doesn't happen, or even better, as it does not happen, the first, the second, the third, it could generate a lot of different emotions and sentiments, rebellion, revolt, and other things. So that is human faith. There is no, once again, no participation of God or a divinity or a divine figure, depends on the belief system, but there's nothing spiritual on it. The second avenue that we are going to address here is what we call divine faith. Divine faith. What is divine faith? It's exactly the opposite, if you will, of what we defined as human faith. Remember, human faith, material life, no spirituality. Divine faith is this unstructured faith. There's no basis. It's not, there's no basis. It leads to fanaticism. It leads to fanaticism because there's nothing rational about it. There's nothing that sustains it. The person who carries on divine faith stands by. So there's an idea, I want this particular thing to happen. For example, play the lotto, okay? So if you want to play the lottery, and if you have what we call divine faith, the person stands by and waits for God's actions and realizations. Now think about this. If I want to win the lotto this weekend, one thing I got to do, I got to play. I can't simply cross my arms and stand by until God's actions and realizations make it happen for me. I cannot outsource responsibility. And that's what we do, or that's what it is when we discuss and talk about divine faith. It's this idea that I want this and God will make it happen for me with no basis. There's nothing that sustains it. So I just outsource the responsibility of making this thing happen, which could be, once again, very frustrating because you can wait and wait and wait and nothing happens. So that's divine faith. And there's a third avenue, which is to get started. We're going to explain in details, but to get started, it's something in between, which you might think it's a little bit strange. Well, it is and it isn't. Rational faith, which is the third type, as opposed to blind faith. Blind faith is divine faith. You just believe it. There's no reason for anything, and you just keep waiting. Rational faith. When we have or carry on rational faith, we are co-creators, and that's very important. We are co-creators of that faith that brought from within. Why do I say co-creators? Isn't it only me? No, it isn't. The Creator provides everything for us. However, it doesn't present us from having to make our own efforts. We have to make our own efforts. It requires efforts. So there's a mix of things here. I can rely on and trust that God is going to provide for me for this particular thing to happen, for my goals and objectives and so, but I got to make it happen. Also, I got to take action. It requires effort on my part. So rational faith includes in its own definition by default lucidity, rationality, and above all, because it's a co-creation between me and God, you and God, each one of us and God, it has to be supported by humility. Because if humility is not part of the equation, how can I make it happen? I'm going to complain. How come there's somebody else here? So I wouldn't be able to carry out this rational faith if I don't develop the sense of humility. So faith like that, which is what Spiritism teaches us, must be developed. It's not something that one day you wake up and it's there. No, it goes from faulty and fragile to become firm and rational at a certain point. And how long does it take for us to go from one point to another, from faulty and fragile to firm and rational? Many, 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 many lifetimes, many reincarnations. Because it ties into the level of moral advancement that we are in. Right now, at the level that we are, our faith, for the great majority, our faith is fragmented. What do I mean by the faith is fragmented? Well, it works for certain things. For example, nobody is going to argue that the sun is coming out tomorrow morning. That's faith because I have no control over it. But there's lucidity and rationality. No, this is an ongoing thing. I studied and we know, and so and so and so. There's rationality and lucidity. But that's faith too. How can I be sure that 5 days from now, the earth is not going to stop spinning? Same thing. There's reason to believe it. There's lucidity and rationality. So it works for things like this, but it doesn't work for all the things. That's why I say that our faith is fragmented. And it is so fragmented that, let's just say I want to achieve a certain objective. So here I am. This is my objective, and I'm going to have faith, and I'm going to do my part. I'm co-creating this thing with God. And at times I'm going to go back into, my objective and say, I'm not sure if this thing's going to happen. Yeah, maybe it's not going to happen. I just fragmented my faith. And then later on, no, but it will happen. No, I'm going to continue. Yeah, but I'm not really sure. It's taking too long. You see, so we fragment our own faith. What does it mean? It means I can't sustain. We can't. We have a very hard time sustaining that faith all across. It's very difficult on the level of advancement, moral advancement that we are, because faith depends on the level of advancement. And why is that? Because it depends on our thoughts. It depends on rationality, on lucidity. That's the thought. It depends on our thoughts. If we are spirits, not much advanced, if we are still way back in the spirit scale, our thoughts are not good. Our thoughts are bad. Our thoughts they go against ourselves. So we undermine our own possibility for faith. So faith becomes this evolving concept from the point of view of spirit. As the spirit advances morally, intellectually, faith changes from a theological only basis, divine, to a rational basis, rational faith. You will change. At one point, we are going to have a lot more faith than we have today. We're going to have what Allan Kardec says, he names it robust faith, which brings perseverance. It gathers all the energy necessary and all the resources necessary to overcome all possible obstacles and reach the goal, all through our thoughts. So it's the power of faith to drive our thoughts, which are created by our mental body, which is one of the subtle bodies, to drive our thoughts in such a way that the magnetic actions of our thoughts upon the planetary fluid will create the desire to reach the objective, especially and exceptionally if we are doing good things, if our goal is something good, working on good things for us, for others. So this is rational faith. Let me give you an example. Think of an alpinist. The guy's going to climb the mountain. What do? They are at a certain level already off the ground, let's say 10 meters up on the mountain. What they do is they take the rope and they throw it up, and they hope that the hook attaches to something so they can, using the rope, go up a little bit more. They'll do it again, and so and so. Now, what happens when they throw the rope? Before they try to come up, before they try to climb, they bring it down many times. They pull, and they need to be sure the thing is solid. Otherwise, they're gonna fall and get hurt or even die. So they throw the cord in hopes that it will attach firmly to something, but they test before. That's the lucidity part. That's the rationality part of the faith. Well, that's a kind of faith, and it's rational faith, even if the alchemist doesn't think so. But it is. It's co-creation. And we could have other examples. I'm just bringing some so we can, make it more relatable. In the Gospel according to Spiritism, okay, Allan Kardec summarizes everything into a beautiful phrase where he says, unshakable faith is the kind that can stand face to face with reason in all human epochs. So it's the reason it's the faith that has reason behind it. So we believe in that, but we act accordingly. Because you can believe in something and not act accordingly. That's not faith. That's just belief. It's different. So unshakable faith, that's the word, that's the expression Allan Kardec uses. Now, we need to be open to our faith. If we desire something, if we have a goal in mind, if we are, praying and mentalizing and, concentrating, to bring the faith out of us into the universe, we need to be open to our faith. We need to channel all necessary energies so that it stands. In the Gospel according to Spiritism, there's an interesting passage that Jesus, he's with the apostles, and the apostles, a man comes with his sons and says, I took my son to your apostles and they couldn't cure my son. Can you cure them? So Jesus says, basically, not with these words, but basically they teach us that the apostles had not enough faith. And then Jesus cures the man. So what exactly means that the apostles didn't have faith? They were not yet able to channel everything that was needed and necessary to make it happen, which is, again, a combination of rationality and lucidity and divine co-creation. So at one point, it failed. The co-creation failed. And I'll tell you one thing, the fail didn't come from God. So that's us. That's us. We learn as we go. We understand ourselves. We know more. We study. Studying is a stepping stone. Studying is necessary for everything in life, by the way. So Jesus goes, the apostles, after the fact, the apostles go back to Jesus and says, why couldn't we do it? Then he explains, you don't have faith enough. And Jesus adds, if you had faith, you can move mountains, which is, of course, a metaphor. What are these mountains? These are our vices: pride, selfishness, revenge, whatever, impatience, all vices. However, the biggest or the highest mountain is the lack of trust in ourselves. And again, spirits that are less evolved don't have any of that. As we go on, we start, developing this trust in ourselves and this divine connection. And then rational faith becomes something feasible and obtainable and achievable. So just let me bring another angle upon this. We know that the animals have a basic attribute, instinct. They go by instinct. Human beings have instinct, hired from inherited from the animal kingdom, plus reason. Animals don't have reason. Reason starts in our kingdom, humans. Now, interestingly, reason does not eliminate instinct. It goes upon instinct. It doesn't replace, it doesn't eliminate. So humans have both. We have reason, but we still have instinct of preservation and other things. Now, the really advanced spirits incarnated here, I'm talking about really advanced, not just above the average. No, I'm talking about, Mother Teresa, Brazilian medium Chico Xavier, Gandhi, these people, they have, or they had, a lot of faith when they were here with us. They still do as spirits. So their faith did not eliminate the reason and did not eliminate instinct. So now we have a three-layer thing here: instinct, reason, and faith. Now, interestingly, faith is, again, co-creation is communion with the higher realm. And for them, they are so advanced that their faith becomes almost instinctive. It's there all the time. It's not fragmented like it is for us. It's something automated in their perispirit, in their soul. It's automated. They don't have to make plans for, I got to do this objective. Let me see how I'm going to do this thing. I need faith here. No. This is what we do, not them. They do different. For them, faith is not fragmented. However, reason is still the basis for that faith. Reason still supports that faith, and that faith never fails. Of course, they are more advanced than we are. They learned along the way. You're going to get there one day. Because faith, I'll tell you, is not a privilege of some spirits. No. There's no favoritism where God defined who's going to have faith, who's not going to have. No. Faith is not a privilege of some spirits. It is personal and not transferable. I cannot outsource faith. I cannot go to somebody and say, listen, I need a lot of faith to get this thing done, to make this happen, to overcome this particular obstacle. Can you do it for me? No. It's personal and not transferable. We are spirits living in a planet called trials and expiations. So we are spirits undergoing trials and expiations. Because of that, we are submitted to circumstances that challenges our faith. So we can learn. For example, accidents, catastrophes, tsunamis, earthquakes, hurricanes. These are things and circumstances that challenge our faith. So that way we are given the opportunity to learn and to advance. We advance by learning. So with Spiritism, faith becomes something explainable. You see, the theological thought or theology reigned over our lives throughout the centuries, and deeply interfered in the concept of faith. So the concept of faith, because of that, became corroded with time. That's why it's so complicated. There's not a common sense around it. So the church didn't do, throughout medieval times and everything, it didn't do a very good job in displaying faith or explaining faith. actually did the other way around. So faith became this word, which is, or this, not a word, but a concept that is corroded in our society today. I like a phrase by Spirit Emmanuel, very interesting. This is what it says: faith is not an idle, vacuous asset. It's an asset. Now, not this thing, that's not good for anything. No. It's a light that projects itself from within the soul out to our life. So what it's saying is we live by faith, whether we want and recognize or not. Going back to the beginning, the sun is going to be out tomorrow morning. There's faith in there. From within my soul, I believe in that. And you too. So the whole thing about faith and what we call rational faith is this collaboration between us and God. Now, it's a collaboration, it's a partnership. Now, what happens in a partnership when one partner tries to overtake the other? It doesn't work anymore. You break the partnership. So when humans, us, try to overtake God's part, and that would be human faith. If we try to overtake God's part, the partnership is broken now. It doesn't work anymore. My faith is not going to really lead me to something. It's easy to fail and revolt and so on and so on and so on. Faith without the divine component doesn't work. And I said before, faith is personal and not transferable. Why is not transferable and personal? Especially personal. Why is it personal? Because one of the components is the spirit, the state of the spirit. And each spirit is different, on a different level of advancement and evolution. So our faith is shaped by ourselves with the concourse of God, co-creation, collaboration. That's the lesson from Spiritism. This is, like I said in the beginning, this is in the Gospel according to Spiritism, chapter 19. Chapter 19 is one of these chapters that we cannot just, like many of them, but especially this one. Really, not kidding. We cannot simply keep going and reading in first paragraph, second, third. No. It's a deep, we need to go almost phrase by phrase. It's a deep study of faith. We brought here some of it. But I really urge you to go to the book and take a look at it. Study that. And as always, I want to invite you to visit KardecFlix.com. KardecFlix.com, as you know, we've mentioned this before here. It's a website, but full of resources. It's a new platform that has interviews, movies, all types of contents, written content for adults, kids, and teens. Whatever you're looking for in Spiritism is very likely you're going to find it there, all in English. Isn't that beautiful? Thank you very much for being with us tonight. We appreciate your participation. And don't forget, Spiritism, A Closer Look is going to be back here on Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. I'll see you then. Be well.